Franken, here to talk to Howard Stern, the radio shock jock, about my new show on Air America, which launches tomorrow at noon. That's Wednesday at noon on WLIB here in Los Angeles, in New York. And we're on in Los Angeles and KBLA in Chicago on and some other station.
Is it different coming to talk to Howard than it is doing other venues? Or?
Yeah, it's exciting. I like talking to Howard. I've been on a show four or five times, something like that. And I never know quite what I'm going to get, and that's great.
All right, I love Al Franken, even though on the first page of his book he insults me. But I don't care. I love the book, and I've always enjoyed him on Saturday Night Live with his various characters and all the things. And there he is, Al Franken. Look at him.
Yeah, the real guy.
Looking all energized with his new radio show. All excited. How you doing, Al?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Looks like we just got you out of bed.
Yeah. I'll get used to. Well, we're not on until noon to 3, and we start tomorrow. And
is it the big kickoff for the? This is. Do you own a piece of the network?
I don't even know. I think I do.
Yeah. When you say you don't know, though, this is a hard thing to get put together. I mean, your own radio network.
Yeah, it's not my own radio network, but I worked with the people putting the. I was the crucial.
You're the
building
linchpin.
block. Linchpin.
Yeah. Well, because you're the guy. You see. It's a difficult thing to do a liberal radio network. They've tried like different guys at being like the answer to Rush Limbaugh and stuff. You see, you will succeed because you're funny. You see, then that's the difference.
That's what I keep telling them.
No, you'll succeed. If you do it just like your book, if you do your show like you did your book, you will win. Because it's funny. I mean, the stuff you do is funny. When you go over to this, the different, like confronting Bill O'Reilly and confronting Sean Hannity. Fox News has got to infuriate you. I mean, it's got to infuriate anyone.
Well, we're calling the show the O'Franken Factor.
That's already funny.
Just to bait him.
Will he sue you over that?
Oh, gosh, I hope so.
Because he sued you once already.
He did, yeah. Story behind that is we went to this book expo in L.A., and which was last May, and it's to promote
your new book,
new books, and to all these booksellers in L.A. And Molly Ivins and Bill and I were on a panel, and Molly was pushing her book Bushwhacked, and Bill was pushing his book Living with Herpes. Very, very, very good book. 'Cause Howard, when you write from experience, it's always good. And he didn't like the fact that I had written a book called Lies and Lying Liars Who Tell Them a Fair and Balanced Look at the Right. And
Brilliant book.
Thank you.
It really is.
Thank you. And when you said that, the sales spiked. We had a day where I'm going, what's happening?
Why am I getting attention?
Oh, yes, what's happening? Oh, Howard says that. So he got mad at me, and Molly spoke first, he spoke second. He got on and goes, I don't call people liars. I don't do that. That's not what I do. Evidently, he hadn't actually seen his own show.
Right.
So I go on next, and I felt like I was obligated to explain to him why he was on a book, on the cover of a book that had the words lies and lying liars. So I did. I read, just from Nexus searches, his words, proving that he was not only a liar, but kind of a
What are some of the things he says? What are some of the things he says that you would point up that shows that Bill O'Reilly is a liar?
One of the things I really tracked was he kept saying whenever he would be challenged about his show Inside Edition, which was a crappy, tabloid
show, yeah.
He'd say, "Oh yeah, tabloid show. Who says so? We won 2 Peabodys." And someone would go like, "Well, come on, it was a tabloid show. Oh, you want us to give our Peabodys back? Is that what you want?" So only the most prestigious award in journalism. You want us to give our Peabodys back? And he did this like several times.
Right.
So, and I see this on C-SPAN, and I just go like, Inside Edition never won a Peabody, And so I check like the Peabody website.
Yeah.
And I call the Peabody people, and I say, "Did Inside Edition ever win a Peabody?" And they actually laughed. And then said no. And then I called Bill, and I said, "Hi, Bill, it's Al Franken." He called me back, which was very, very nice.
Right.
And I said, "Hi,
Yeah,
hi, Bill,
sure.
it's Al." I said, "I noticed on C-SPAN you said that you had won 2 Peabodys." And he said, "We did." I go, "Well, yeah, you should probably check that with the Peabody people because they don't think you did." And he went, "I'll call you back." And then he calls me back in about 10 minutes, and he said, "It was a Polk."
The Polk Award.
The Polk, which is a prestigious award, except that they didn't win it when he was there, by the way. They won it after a year after he left.
He didn't win.
Yeah.
So I said, "A Polk." He goes, "Yeah, it's just as prestigious as the Peabody."
But if you'd won something, wouldn't you know what it was?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't win anything.
That's what I'm saying.
Ryan's over there.
Yeah, I'm over here, Al.
Okay, no, he didn't win anything.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he says it was just as prestigious as the Peabody, and I said, well, then there are 2 most prestigious awards in journalism.
Yeah, how can you have
right?
2?
He goes, Al, listen, come out. I said, don't you think it's odd that you got it wrong about a journalism award? Do you think that's ironic? And
Did he change his argument to, what do you want me to do, give the Polk Award back?
No, he didn't. He just said, okay, go ahead, go after me, Al. So I said, oh, that sounds like a good idea.
But how does he not know that he didn't win a Peabody Award? I mean, how does he not know that?
Oh, he's just a liar.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'll give you another. This whole Peabody thing has a long, long story to it, and I won't necessarily go through it all. All I can say is that once it was shown that he hadn't won, he kept clinging to this idea that he had never said he had won a Peabody. But he says things like, he said to the New York Observer that no one grew up lower on the economic ladder than I did. And he grew up like, in a middle-class home in Westbury. His dad was an accountant. And, this would surprise.
Did he go to private school?
Yeah.
So how is he?
Well, yeah, but
because he wants to be this blue-collar guy who just made it all himself,
Hardly made it on
He's worked hard, he has. But, I mean, that's what bugs me about Republicans who believe, or these conservatives who believe that I did it all myself.
Yeah. They pick myself up by the bootstraps, and that's why it kind of kills you when they don't understand why black people might need a break, because they grew up in an economically depressed area, didn't get a break to go to college or anything, but they somehow think they did it all on their own. Meanwhile, their parents paid for college. They had the best
private school education.
Well, forgetting that. I'm talking about just a middle-class guy who didn't have private school education. All of us in this country are standing on the shoulders of people who stood on the shoulders, of people who stood on the shoulders, of people who stood on the shoulders, on and on.
Right.
We live in the greatest country in the world.
Right.
And part of the price of that is paying taxes. Republicans have these principles, like one of their principles is that the estate tax punishes the most productive people in our society. The children of the very wealthy.
Rich, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. What's wrong with punishing them? I want to punish the children of the wealthy, quite frankly. I don't need them having so many breaks. I went to buy a house. I remember when I first got into radio, and I'd finally saved enough money for my first house. I couldn't afford one because all of the trust fund kids.
You'd been priced out.
I was priced out. I had to compete with them. They actually have money.
Right.
They have done
and
nothing.
No matter how much money you can come up with a set amount of money. They can always come up with more because they can get it from mommy and daddy.
You said a great thing in your book about how Republicans love the country and they love their party, just like Democrats love their country and love their party. But Republicans love their party like a 4-year-old loves their mother.
Yeah, it's like if mommy can do no wrong, if someone says something about your mommy, you get mad.
Right.
Democrats love their country like adults, and we want to be honest. We want our loved ones to do as well as possible and to do good.
Well, I find that with like the Rush Limbaughs of the world, it's like the guy is a knee-jerk reactionary. In other words, you say anything, it's always the Republican answer. He's a lackey for the Republican Party. In other words, wouldn't it be more interesting to occasionally disagree with the president?
To occasionally think.
Wouldn't that be more interesting?
Yeah, I think when we're opposite Rush. my show, the old Franken Factor.
Did you have a field day when Rush, of course, admitted that he hasn't really kind of admitted it, but
that he's a drug addict?
That he's a drug addict.
We are going to try to do our show drug-free.
Right.
We don't know if it's ever been done.
Not here.
As far as you know, there's no show that has been drug-free.
No, we don't know. But, I noticed that you just did an ad for, I think, a car body shop or something like that.
Right.
And so I know that you get paid more to do premium ads if you read the ads.
That's right.
So I've decided to just do them all as Rush.
You will read every ad the way Rush does.
Well, this is... unless I get sick of it, which I will. But
no, that's good. That's good.
It's sort of like this. Friends, I spent so much money on drugs. And not just the drugs themselves, my friends, but on bribing my maid. That I am always looking for a bargain. And that's why I love the new 12-pack from New Grape Soda.
You're onto something. You see, humor will make you win. This is so it's a head-to-head competition. Now you're not on as big radio stations as Rush, right? In other words, you're just starting out your network.
We're just starting out. We're on WLIB here, 1190, and we're on in Chicago and in LA, and I got those numbers here.
You got all kinds of. Are you feeling pressure with this thing?
No.
No. Do you ever run into a Rush Limbaugh? Do you ever see him?
You know what? He's very reclusive, and I will give him.
Well, if you had his problems, you'd be alone too.
Well, I guess so.
But you called your first book, Rush Limbaugh's a big fat idiot, and that had to bother him somewhat.
Evidently, it did, but I think I saved his life.
Why do you say that?
Well, he lost a lot of weight
after you put that in the title.
I halted his slide into food-assisted suicide.
See, we credit ourselves with the Anna Nicole Smith weight loss, and because we told her she was fat, and you did the same kind of tough love.
Yeah, but now I hope it wasn't. That's what the OxyContin was.
Yeah,
right, he went from one to the other.
You might have driven it to him. Hey, and what about, you hate the Fox network, obviously, and because it's so biased that when someone starts quoting from the Fox network, you know that it's biased toward the right wing and the religious right kind of party line.
Yeah.
But then, weren't you once on there? I remember in the book you were saying you were in the green room somewhere, and Sean Hannity came by, and he started yelling at you.
Yeah, well...
These guys hate you.
Yeah, they hate me. They hate me. They sued me.
Right.
Yeah, they sued me. And one thing, this is interesting. After this dust up with O'Reilly at the book expo, because you're asking how the suit came about, he started screaming at me. He said, "Shut up! You've had your 35 minutes. Shut up!" Which was interesting because I'd only spoken for 20 minutes, which proves that he can't even tell you to shut up without lying. And then the Monday after, this is on a Friday, he goes on his radio show, and he says, if this had happened in the Old West, we would have had to have had a shootout, which I thought was interesting. Mm-hmm. Even more interesting was that he guaranteed that he would have won this shootout 150 years ago, which is odd because I don't know if you know this, Howard, but during the summers, I do the whole State Fair quick draw circuit.
I didn't know you were a quick draw McDraw. I didn't know that.
I'm number 3 in the country. And
so even that was a lie. You would win the. You would win the. Would you have a duel with him? Would you fight him? For example, a lot of radio shows challenge each other.
I would in the Old West. I would have.
You would have. Right?
Yes, but he guaranteed he'd win.
Yeah.
And this is a quote. He said, "I would have shot him between the head."
Between the head. He gets very worked up about you and can't think straight.
Yes, but then we got this letter saying they were going to sue us if I kept his picture on and fair and balanced, the words fair and balanced in the subtitle. And my publisher was a little upset. And I told her, and this is something you need to remember, and everyone should remember, that I said, don't worry, from my 30 years of experience, in America, satire is protected speech even if the object of the satire doesn't get it.
Yeah, that's an important point. That's right. Well,
so we won. I mean,
you won in court. I was proud of you that you stood up and you said, "Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with me using this in the title, and I'm perfectly, it's perfectly legal."
Well, not only that, they had no case. This is hilarious that they sued us.
Do you ever feel alone in this whole battle? I mean, seriously. I mean, you kind of like it's almost like the odds are stacked against you. It's like there's so many goddamn guys all on the radio with the conservative viewpoint. It's frightening. I mean,
well,
it's like,
this is what we're trying to do. At least get a foothold in this terrain because. There's different kinds of talk radio. You do one thing, but the political talk radio, the specifically, explicitly political talk radio, is almost entirely 100% conservative.
And Al, what was your beef with me? I bought your book excitedly.
That was a joke.
I went to. I was like,
joke.
Yeah,
I'll read it.
like
I wasn't
McCarthy.
sure he was serious.
We checked the law, but we didn't get the joke. So
I didn't even care that you insulted me in the beginning of the book. It was so brilliant. I promoted it anyway.
This is a joke.
I'm
As the
considering
great
suing.
Joseph Welch said to Joe McCarthy, "Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you no sense of decency? Unlike Senator McCarthy and his intellectual heirs, Ann Coulter and Howard Stern, I do have a sense of decency." So this is a style I write in, which is just dumb.
Well, no,
the
it's
dumb
not. It's
thing.
hardly dumb. Now you're going to have to argue with conservatives, I imagine, on the radio
I hope
show.
to have conservatives who will come on and argue with me.
Yeah, we got a guy here, Scott DePace, our director,
Yeah.
who loves. He gets everything
We'll give you some
from
practice.
He gets everything from Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, good.
The other day, he was yelling in the halls, and I quote, this is Scott DePace, our director, that the drilling of the Alaska pipeline and the drilling of Alaska in general is good for the environment.
Oh,
Good for the environment.
Good for the environment because the wildlife up
Now
there
you sound like O'Reilly.
likes the heat produced from the oil pipeline.
Not what
Stop
I
it.
said. That
Yes,
is
you did.
So wrong.
Hey, you said it. What did
That
you
is
say
not what I
then?
said.
Are
When
you
I-
for?
I absolutely
Kerry
am
is
for
a
drilling in Alaska. Yes.
You're for the drilling
Yes.
of Alaska,
Yes, and so
despite
should
the
you.
fact that so many environmentalists have said that this
Howard.
is the last bastion of.
How did you get here this morning?
I got here.
In a limousine.
That's right.
Isn't that a little excessive?
But you're saying that you are for the drilling of Alaska.
A place I will never see in my lifetime. Yes. Why drill in
Oh.
Texas where you actually might be?
Now, Al, what are
In
you?
some place like the
Al,
moon.
Kerry is a guy who I happen to admire.
Right.
And is against the destruction of the environment, and we're putting a lot of money into new fuel sources. Why do you laugh?
Well,
Everyone is. You can't stop the economy while you do it, though. You got to
No,
keep going.
it's it's hardly going to
listen,
stop the economy.
You can keep the economy going if you go into fuel efficiency. The problem is of course, is that we have an administration that just knows oil. We have a president who
Thank
was.
God.
We had a president who was in the oil business, couldn't find oil in Texas.
3 bankrupt companies.
Yeah,
See, that's funny.
but he kept being bankrolled by his daddy's friends.
Right.
Cheney, who ran an oil services company, Halliburton, which seems to be doing quite well.
All of a
Yeah.
sudden,
Yeah.
their future is. That doesn't disturb you at all, does it?
The
But you
Halliburton
can
connection
build-
with Cheney?
The Halliburton connection, the fact
No.
that no one else is
You know that
getting in on the rebuilding of Iraq.
Clinton only used Halliburton as well. Okay.
Clinton only used
No, he didn't
Halliburton.
only use
for
Halliburton.
the Bosnia-Serbia.
Now, how do you answer
thing,
that,
yes.
Al?
Okay.
He used Halliburton.
Halliburton, through Kellogg, Brown and Root, does do construction of bases, and I on my USO tours have gone to a base in Kosovo that was built by Kellogg, Brown and Root, and they do that, but he didn't give them blind bids. I mean, in other
and
words,
Bush
he
did.
made them bid. Yeah.
He gave him a blind bid. He just said, "Okay, you're the best," and that's it.
Yes.
Yes, they just gave
That's what he did.
Yes, that's
Yes,
exactly
that's what he
I-
did. I
oh,
mean,
that's
they did
not-
that to Bechtel and to Halliburton. They got the first contracts.
How many other companies could have done what Halliburton did?
Other companies can do it. No, I just came back from.
But you would say
at
they're the
Christmas.
best.
Huh?
You would say that they are the best.
I don't know about that, but when I was in, I was just in Kuwait,
You don't know it
Iraq.
either.
I was just.
What do you know about Halliburton? That you would
know?
say
I know
they're the
what- I
best.
know
You
what
know
I
that
hear.
Dick Cheney
You
thinks
know
they're
what
the
you
best.
hear
I know what I
from
hear.
Well, I was
Dick
in.
Cheney does not have a connection with
Do
Halliburton
you have a
anymore.
problem
Yes, he
with
does. Yes, he does. He continues to get money from Halliburton, and he also has stock options for
He
Halliburton.
had to get rid of his stock.
No, he did. He got rid of his stock. He didn't get rid of his stock options. So he has an interest in
See,
how well
Scott,
it
now
does.
suddenly you have somebody
Yeah,
who
who
knows
really
the
knows.
answers.
Scott, what? What are we
Why?
talking
But
about?
wait a second.
Halliburton?
Why?
I
Wait,
don't
you
care.
just made a statement that Halliburton
Yeah.
All right,
the best.
Is the best. A, you wouldn't even know if
No,
it's the best. B, you just made a statement that Dick Cheney got rid of his stock options,
he thought
and Al Franken just told you that he still has stock options. Everything you've said is wrong.
That's not true. Play the tape back. I said he
some
gets
of the
stock.
stuff he said is wrong.
He said stock options.
not
They're two
everything.
different things.
You said he had no connection to Halliburton anymore. Stop it.
Scott, you have just entered a no-spin zone. This is the Franken factor.
Well, we call it the zero spin zone. We don't want to.
So Al, you're trying.
Trample on.
Is this the problem? You answer this guy's doubts,
Right.
And he's still like a true Republican.
He's the
No,
four-year-old.
you know
He's
what?
the 4-year-old. I love mommy no matter what she does.
Well, this
Get back to the-
happens. a
Mommy
lot.
beats me, and I love her.
This happens a lot, which is that it just takes a while. And what happens is that the Rushes and the Hannitys and these guys are so much what people listen to.
Well, DePace gets all his information from Limbaugh.
That's right.
Well, that's what he's heard. When he
I
said,
listen
I
to
heard
about a half
it.
hour a day. Yes.
And it's pretty much all your info.
And what we
No,
do
it's
on the
not.
show is I have a friend from high school who's a ditto head.
Right.
And we just play him every day a couple of things that Rush said just aren't true.
Right. That's it.
And then he tries to defend
Why
them
your
or-
book is brilliant? Why your book is brilliant is you take these guys' statements and you show the lies.
So everything in there is just true? Everything that you
In
say
my
is-
book,
Yeah, he did research.
No, I made a couple. I'll tell you what. I did make a couple mistakes, all of which I got from British intelligence. For example, on page 197, I say that Sean Hannity lived up Newt Gingrich's ass
Right.
from 1994 to 1998.
Right.
I got that from British intelligence.
Right.
Turns out,
He didn't live up there.
well, no, he did, but he only took residence up there in early January '95.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I
so that was embarrassing.
All right, let's see. DePace says that the large deficit is good for the economy and will create jobs in the long run.
You know what's funny? Where do you get your facts? I
From
never said
Jason.
that.
That's what you
I
told
never,
him.
Never in my life.
Can I ask you a question?
I said it's not enough to worry about as long as it's a low portion to the GDP, and that's if it's in the 2 to 4% range. That's okay.
Well, that's not crazy, but I
Because
mean,
it's sustainable. You can take care of it.
yeah, but it's not. It's getting unsustainable.
Let me ask
and
you,
in
where
fact,
did it come from?
Well, listen.
Well, let me tell you one thing though. But these tax cuts. First of all, we have never had tax cuts in a time of war. This is the first president to put in tax cuts at the time of war. Even this president got it. If you read Suskind's book on Paul O'Neill, there's a moment after 9/11 where they're considering the second wave of tax cuts, most of which go to the top 1%, and the
Because they
president,
pay the most.
president of the United States says, "Haven't we done this already? Didn't we give big tax cuts to
And
those
thank
at the top?
God it
Aren't we-"
worked.
It hasn't worked.
It has worked.
It has not worked.
Our
We
economy
are-
is booming right now.
We
whether you know
are.
it or not.
You know, what part of the words jobless economy?
The jobs are a
jobless
lagging
recovery
indicator.
do
Jobs
you
will
not
come
understand?
next. Jobs
yeah,
will come
yeah,
next.
Yeah. The point is, they keep saying
Not
every
like
year.
Kerry going 10 million new jobs
if
by
you-
his plan, which
well,
is
wait a minute. They said 2.6 million new jobs this February, and then immediately backed away from it. And now are saying they'll create 1 million new jobs, some of which will be even in this country.
But you see, guys like DePace refuse to listen to this. Whenever
won't-
there's a
yeah, he closes
backpedal,
his mouth.
they don't
No,
want to hear it. The
I
president
know
said
the
he was going to have
facts.
3 million new jobs. Where are they?
But that's a
so he shouldn't have said it,
prediction.
right?
It's a prediction.
So what's wrong with Kerry making a prediction?
Well, every
Fine,
year,
but why
listen.
not say 50 billion jobs? I mean, where's this 10 million?
Well, where's the 3
Well, he
million
didn't
jobs?
get- he didn't
hasn't
give us
even been
1 million.
The
One's
point
a little
is-
higher than
The guy in
The point
office
is-
now promised us 3 million jobs. Where are they? Kerry's not in office.
The point is, this will be the first president. This will be the first president since Hoover, not to create one new net job. Let me finish. Not to create one new net job since Hoover. Now, if you add the two Bushes together, Bush 1, Bush 2, over 7 years of their two presidencies, they have not created one new net job. Numbers do not lie. If you extrapolate from that, if the Bushes had run this country from its very inception to the present day, not one American would have ever worked. We'd all be hunter-gatherers.
So you're telling me the fact that there was no recession and there was no war and there was no 9/11, none of this had anything to do with the jobs?
What?
Okay, exactly. I didn't think you could understand that. How much simpler can I put it?
There is a war.
Yeah.
It was a recession, and there are no new jobs. So I'm not quite sure if I
That is
follow
the
you.
reason for the
Excuse me.
jobs falling. That is the reason now they're going to come back. Their jobs are growing now, but they're not up to where they should be.
We've
Everyone
lost
understands that.
about 2.5 million jobs under this president.
And most of those were
And-
at the
and
beginning
most of
when
these
we had a
tax cuts-
recession and we had this.
But if you wanted to do a stimulative tax cut, you wouldn't have done the kind of tax cut that this president has done, which is a tax cut that most of which is in the out years. And this is what you would do is a quick stimulus, and you would do a stimulus that would help people at the bottom, people who need
people
to
at
spend
the bottom
the money.
don't create jobs.
The people, yes, they do by buying things.
Okay, that does help things.
But he forgets about
The
that.
rich
Yeah.
people do. Why discriminate against the rich
The
people?
rich
I don't
people have
understand.
not been investing in things. The rich people don't need it.
So
They're
Howard should
very-
have got his big tax cut then?
Yeah, Howard shouldn't have gotten his big tax cut. Neither should I.
Well,
he shouldn't.
Let me tell you
I
something.
just
During
paid my
Clinton,
damn taxes
during
yesterday.
Clinton,
I
I
want
didn't.
mine.
I didn't see my taxes go up through the roof any
During
more than I
Clinton-
see Bush.
Listen, during Clinton raised taxes.
It's
You must be
true.
making more money. I mean,
No,
the rate
I'm
is
talking
less.
about the ratio of taxes.
The rate is less now for you.
Yes,
by
it is
1 or
now.
2%.
But during Clinton in '93 raised the top rate on the top 1%. Every Republican said this is going to cause a recession. It passed without one Republican vote. It led to 8 years of an expanded economy. The idea,
and a
I think
huge
that's a little
surplus.
slanted. Hold on. Wait, so he did that his first year, you're saying?
yes.
His first year and then 8 years of an. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, can't argue with that.
You got me.
All right. So Al, you're ready for this radio show. I can see you're
Well,
debating.
you know what he has done that most liberals who were trying to do radio before were not doing? He's on the offensive.
Yeah.
Most liberals on radio were always in a defensive position. They were always screaming at the right in reaction to what they were saying. He's on the offensive. He's leading the attack.
And within
Peter, you're on the air.
6
Go
months
ahead.
will be on the
How you
defense.
doing, Al? Al, is it not true that the DNC helps support your radio show?
No.
You're full of it. And what about your little coke problem? You pick on Rush Limbaugh with the OxyContin.
You have,
And
You have a little
my
coke
next
problem?
you have a
question is,
coke
what if-
problem?
I have a coke problem.
Oh, yeah, you're going to tell me you don't do coke, right?
I
Put a lie detector
I
on
don't
it.
do
Put a
coke.
lie detector on it. Tell me about your past coke problem.
Okay, first of all,
Oh, what, Al?
Wait,
Put a
hang
lie
on,
detector
hang on.
Well,
on
wait,
it.
let him
Answer the
answer.
question.
let me answer. I think what you're referring to is during the 70s, from 1975 to 1980.
Oh, yeah, not in 1995?
Well, let him talk.
No, I haven't done coke since.
Yeah, so yesterday?
Oh, goodness.
Hey, Al,
yesterday.
Oh, you didn't say yesterday.
You didn't
You didn't
say
say yesterday. No, let me
What
caller,
year did the
caller,
recession
caller,
start,
caller,
Al?
caller.
2000, buddy. I'm an economist.
What?
What year did the recession start? Bill Clinton was still in office.
No, it
Yeah.
started
Stop
in
it. The
March of
recession started in
2001.
2000. Why don't you look at your numbers? I'm an economist.
I can. It started in March of 2001.
Can we
But
get
let
back
me.
to the coke
Okay,
thing?
Stuart Smalley, give me some advice.
Oh, all right, go ahead. I had to hang up on him because I can't hear your answer. What was the question?
You can hang up on him, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I got to learn radio from you. I got
Right,
to learn.
you
how
gotta learn to be
do-
rude.
You
the-
can definitely hang up on
No.
people,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
Like
In-
Bush, Al hasn't had coke for 25 years. Okay?
Yeah. And I didn't do it while I was serving or not serving in the Air National Guard.
Right.
From 1975 to 1980, I worked on a show called Saturday Night Live. There
Right.
were people doing cocaine around there. And every once in a while, on Tuesday nights when we were writing the show, I would do a line or two of coke so that I could stay awake to make sure other people didn't do too much coke.
Right. You were in charge. You were in charge of those people.
Oh,
Yeah.
I get it.
I used to say, there was one thing I used to say because there was a lot of rumors about drug use there, and people would come up to me and I'd go, and this was very convincing. I always go like, you can't do a show like Saturday Night Live and do drugs. And they go like, hey, that makes a lot of sense. And of course the opposite was true.
Doesn't it infuriate you in a way that our president will not say that he got special privileges during the Vietnam War? In other words, there's no shame in that. A lot of people tried to get out of the draft. He was able to get out of the war because his father was a very wealthy man, politically connected
Yeah, he was
man.
a congressman.
He was a congressman.
The Bushes were very well connected in Texas.
Why won't he admit that?
Because he doesn't have to. I mean, everyone knows it.
But people ask him about it, and he won't talk about
He
it.
said, I served my time. What I love
He flew
is
planes.
all this thing about, whether he went AWOL, whether he was there or not. I remember that period. I'm sure you do.
Yep.
And what it was, I mean, he was in a Champagne unit of the National Guard. Now, there are plenty of National Guardsmen over there now.
Right.
But then the whole purpose of this was for rich kids not to have to go to Vietnam.
That's right.
So the idea that they were going like, where's Bush? We really need him. That wasn't. They didn't.
So, let me ask
they
you
didn't
something,
need Bush. So it wasn't like they were missing him. They didn't want him to be
Right.
there.
Let
They
me
didn't
ask
need
you a
him there.
question. So why wasn't this an issue for you with Clinton? This guy ran away to England or something, right, to get out of the war.
Well, he didn't run away to England. He was a Rhodes Scholar.
Oh, okay.
He was in school.
Oh, come on. That's bull.
What do you mean that's bull? He was in school. What's he not admitting
He
to?
avoided going into the.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
And so did Bush.
So that's not an issue? Wasn't an issue?
No, because it's honest. To say that you got in the National Guard because your father didn't help you is a lie. His father helped him, and he went there. He didn't go there to serve. He went to get out of the draft.
But
He
you know
says,
what?
I served my country.
The proof is in what he's actually done. He supports
It's a matter of
military well.
honesty.
He's always supported the military.
Exactly, and
Anybody
Kerry
can
won't.
fight